Welcome back to Console Crapshoot, where we spin a wheel to play a random video game on original hardware. Please excuse the voice, I am still recovering from COVID, so I will be editing around my coughing. Yeah, so we replaced Carl last week because of the terrible streak he was on. He needed a break, and lo and behold, we got a great game. Now he's back to redeem himself. Wow, okay, the PlayStation 3. That's a new one. We haven't had the PlayStation 3 yet. We have 1,127 games on the wheel for the PS3. Let's see if the threat of losing his job will get Carl to pick a good game here. And wow, it actually did. Street Fighter 4. I know we rolled Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, but I'm gonna opt to play Ultra Street Fighter 4 here. They're almost the same, but Ultra is just the definitive edition, so we're gonna go with that. So yeah, this is cool. We actually played Street Fighter 1 in episode 17. That game is not good, but Street Fighter 4 is excellent. One of my favorites. So this final edition of Street Fighter 4 Ultra, it came out in 2014, but this is just the definitive edition. The original game actually released in 2009 on the Xbox 360 and the PS3 and PC, and they just incrementally improved on it. First you had Super Street Fighter 4, then you had Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, which is the one we rolled, and then Ultra. I was heavily into this game on the Xbox 360, played it all the time, had tournaments with this at my old bar I used to work at. This is the first time I'm actually picking up the PS3 version. I assume they're basically the same. The remarkable thing about this game was the amount of characters, and not just sheer amount of characters, but the game was balanced. The more characters you add to a game like this, the more out of hand it can feel, but this game does a great job. It really revitalized the series. Street Fighter 2 was the classic. Street Fighter 3 wasn't as widespread popular, but it's a fan favorite, and then there was no new mainline entry in the series for 12 years. This one showed up, really redefined the series with the 2.5D presentation that's fully 3D models, but still on a 2D traditional kind of view. And yeah, it does a great job, like I said, with the original characters of Street Fighter 2. They're all in there, they all feel great. There's characters from Street Fighter 1, Street Fighter 3, the Alpha series, and entirely new characters. It's really, really quite good. And here I am talking about the amount of characters, and I know it's cheesy, but I always kind of go with Ryu. I certainly dabble with other characters, but if I'm playing competitively, I always kind of go back to the original. I know it's boring. The main thing I'm noticing replaying this game is how fun and fresh it still feels. I mean, it's almost 15 years old at this point, but it doesn't feel it. It still looks fantastic. It feels great, it's balanced, it's just fun. It has that fun factor that you can't really put your finger on. Like I said, so many characters, and each character has at least 3 pretty cool cinematic special moves. There's counters, there's unblockables, but it's all pretty accessible. None of it's too hard. Of course, you can play this game at a very high competitive level, but it's also accessible enough for just anyone to pick up. There's also a tremendous amount of content. There's training modes or trials to teach you how to do some of the more advanced techniques in the game, and each one of these characters has 24 different trial missions to complete, not to mention each one of their story modes, so there's tons of stuff to unlock when you do all that. You unlock outfits and colors for each character. There's so much to do, there's a ton of content. You still have your classic bonus modes. Some of those I'm good at, and some of those I'm very clearly not. Even the backgrounds are super fun and interesting to look at. And yeah, even the characters that were new to the series with this game were really fun, really interesting, fun to play as. My favorite to use was always Hakan. He was a Turkish oil wrestler, completely obsessed with oil and always dousing himself with oil, and all of his special moves have to do with oil. That is completely insane. And yeah, wow, this is one of those games that I can just play forever and forget about. This is definitely one I recommend whipping out when you have friends over. So sorry to cut this short, but when there's nothing to complain about, I run out of things to talk about. This game is just solid. So what would we rate Ultra Street Fighter 4 for the PlayStation 3? You know, before playing it, my first instinct was to give it a 4 out of 5. You know, at the end of the day, it is just a fighting game. At the time of its release, there was some really amazing narrative gameplay titles coming out, and the newly released Street Fighter 6 does so much more, but we can't hold that against it. After sitting here and losing a couple more hours of my life to this game, I have to say, it deserves a 5 out of 5. Yeah, it was great when it came out, but when you pick this up now, it hasn't lost a step, and it set the tone and redefined things for other great games. I mean, the direction of Mortal Kombat 9 was clearly influenced by this one, and I really, really love that game. Yeah, solid 5 out of 5, I'm sticking with that. Extremely refreshing choice from Carl this week. I hope this is a new beginning for him, and I also hope my voice will sound better next week. Thank you for hanging with us, everyone, and we'll see you then.